so happy to have you here.
We're thrilled. So, Laura, I would love it if you would introduce yourself to our viewers and tell us a little bit about your work in the mortgage industry.
Awesome. You got it. Well, I am Lauren Brandao. I am the president and the only woman partner of American Financial Resources. So to give you a little bit of my story, we'll start in 2007, okay, because we don't need to go back further than that. So in 2007, when the mortgage industry was crashing, I was working for a wholesale lender, and everybody was watching company after company go out of business. And so I thought, all right, get a little nervous here. What do we do? And I actually called my account executive at IndyMac Bank at the time. We were friends, another woman, and I said, Stacy, it's getting a little real, getting a little nervous here. I said, do you know anywhere that might be a little safe? And she laughed at me going, really, Laura, you think anywhere is safe in the mortgage business? I said, well, come on, maybe you know somebody. And she says, hey, I know a company up in Denville, New Jersey, and they want to open up a wholesale division. They're a small company at the moment. So I'm like, perfect, I can do that. I can go up there. So she's like, okay, here's the cell phone number to the CEO. So I called the CEO that day and I'm like, hey, I'm Lauren Brandao, and I understand you want to start a wholesale division. He's like, I do. I said, well, I'm your girl. I can do this. He's like, why don't you drive up Friday afternoon? We'll sit down. So I sit down in his office, and he says, here's my plan. One product, FHA, down to a 500 credit score, broker only. That's it. One thing. And I'm like, okay. He's like, here's the deal, Laura. No salary, no benefits, 100% commission. But if you do it, girl, you'll be good. And if not, oh well, we tried. I left there on a Friday afternoon. I called my husband from the car. Now, of course, I've got kids. I've got a mortgage. I've got, American dream where we've all got to work. And I said, not like I was wealthy, going into this. And I said to my husband, here's the deal. No salary, no benefits, but heck, I can do it my way. I can build a mortgage company all based on my ideas, based on what I think a mortgage company can do. And my husband said, Laura, you're taking that job and you will do amazing. Within the first 3 months, I was closing $100 million a month of FHA broker-only business. Oh, and one more thing. I got to keep going with the story. So the first day I start, it's June 18th, 2007. I show up, and I'm like, all right, we're doing this. I walk in, and he's like, there's the desk. I'm like, okay, that's wholesale. Go to town. And you know what I did? I picked up the phone and started telemarketing brokers. It was just me. I didn't have a team. I didn't have anybody else look around to see how I was going to get business. And I sat on that phone. I called and called and called. Within the first week, I had 10 files in myself that I processed, that I got in. And then from there, I added pieces of people coming on my team. One of the happiest times of my life.
I bet.
I love that so much.
I feel like I just went to church.
Right? You never go to church, sis.
Like, I can't even believe what you just said. There are so many fantastic things. First of all, how freaking excited you were to be able to run a company without any guarantee and to take that jump, I think is a huge lesson for all of us. And I love how passionate you were about it. And I want a 500 credit score FHA right now, please. That would be awesome.
No, right?
I think I could fill a pipeline with that too. So I would take that right now.
We're not gonna speak about how many of those wound up paying on time. I don't know about that, but
I love that. That was so beautiful. What a great introduction. I literally moved. I almost started crying. I was like, girl, talk to me. That's awesome.
This is actually the perfect segue into this first question that we really want to ask you, Laura. So, like, you just told the story of being brave. So how can women producers be brave in the mortgage industry and ask for what they need?
Yeah, and that's tough, right? I mean, that's tough, especially as women. One of the things that we hesitate on, right? We hesitate in believing in ourselves. And I'm going to give one piece of credit here is that confidence didn't just come internally.
Yeah.
It came from, in my situation, a man that has supported me, that I married my high school sweetheart. Mm-hmm. And I have been with this man through everything. Yeah. And remember, what did I say? I left that meeting, and the first thing I did was call my husband and say, what do you think?
Yeah.
And so to answer that question, as brave as I am and as great that story is, what if I didn't have somebody that was that supportive, that said to me, no matter what happens, you're doing this. Yeah. And you've got it. So whether that's your partner, whether that's your friend, whether that's your family, one of the things I've learned in life is you need that tribe.
Yeah.
You need that support. You need to know that it's not always easy to be brave. It's not always easy to go into the burning building and say, I got this. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So if I was going to say, as much as people would think, oh, it's easy to be, no, it's not. It's not easy to be brave. No. It's hard to be brave. And we can't do it alone. We actually need support of whatever that tribe looks like. To me, it's my family and my husband. But obviously, I have many in the business world that I rely on too, but my husband has always been my rock. Everybody should have that rock, whatever it looks like for you.
It does. And I have to say, we have some questions we want to ask you, but you're just freaking killing me here. I love everything you're saying. I think that as women, we often diminish how brave we are. And I think we don't. And I really am loving how proud you are of the work you've done and how brave you are. I think sometimes we just try and say, oh, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I know I thought that early on in my career as well. And we don't tend to shout it from the rooftop enough. And so I love that you're doing that. So,
but I'm also going to say to you, it's interesting with women that when a woman promotes themselves or goes out saying this, some other people judge that as, look at her going out there and saying she's great. Where a man is recognized as, well, that's just expected. Of course he's the CEO, he's the president, he's the chairman, of course. But sometimes as women, it's one of those, I'm going to tell you something someone said to me once. I was on a podcast, I was a guest, and someone said to me, Laura, you can't be what you don't see. Mm. And I went, my mind was blown. I'm like, you said to me, Liz, when you first saw me, wow, Laura, you've done so many interviews. You want to know why, Liz? Because I'm going to make sure people see women out there showing this. This isn't about me. It's about the generation behind me and all the others to know we're going to be seen and we're going to pave the way.
That's exactly why we're doing this interview series, actually, because so Liz and I came up with this highfalutin idea that we were going to put together a women in mortgage conference. And we're like, yeah, because I do events, Liz does mortgages. I'm like, all right, sounds
Let's
good.
Do it.
And so we get the idea, and then the pandemic hit, and then we're like, oh, looks like we'll be putting that conference off until 2022. Sounds good.
Plan B.
All right. Plan B. And in the meantime, Liz and I were sitting there and we were like, but we still want to bring women into this circle, and we still want to show them what is possible. Right. Yeah. And so we were like, okay, so we're going to interview all these amazing women and really start to funnel these interviews into other spaces than where they have been, so we can get the word out that women are doing this, you know, really incredible work.
That's right.
And I feel really fortunate that we have so many women executives now. I hadn't noticed it. And Laura, maybe you can tell me, I feel like all of a sudden we're present where we haven't been present before.
Okay, so very interesting. That's a great question. So let's use me as an example, right? And I'll kind of get to the answer to that. So I told you, 2007, building this company. Now, how do you build a company? Focused, laser focused. I didn't even know what was going on in the world. I mean, I was laser focused. From 2007 to 2018, no one even knew my name in the industry. No one. You wouldn't find, if you looked for an interview for me from before 2018, I didn't exist. You literally wouldn't find one thing about me. You wouldn't find awards. You wouldn't find interviews. You wouldn't find me anywhere.
Wow.
And then 2018 hit. And you know what happened in 2018? Margin compression.
Mm-hmm.
Margin compression happens to my business, along with everybody else's business. Yes. And we're all sitting there going, uh-oh, something's not right in the business here. We're making a lot less, and there's a lot less business, and we better figure out what to do. And at that point, I was reached out by AIM, the Association of Mortgage Experts, and they were just starting. And I had a conversation with Anthony that runs AIM, and he said to me, I'm having my first conference, my very first one. He goes, and Laura, I'd love for you to be a moderator of a panel. And I'm like, Anthony, you know, sign me up, I'm supporting, but I don't know about the moderating thing. He's like, no, Laura, I want you to do this. Do you know that I actually went to one of my salespeople and said, I want you to moderate because there's no way I'm getting up on a stage. I don't get in front of people. I don't get on a camera. Swear to God, this is true. I don't do videos. I don't do any of this, right? I'm behind the scenes working in the office. So Anthony, yeah, I know she's laughing. She's hysterical. Go.
Yeah. Well, no, we all don't want to be seen. It's terrifying to put yourself out there, right? You don't want to be seen.
So Anthony finds out and says, you're not putting someone else on that stage. You're going there. When I did that, the reaction was like I lit a firecracker. And people were like, I don't know where you've been for the last whatever time, but you can't put the genie back in the bottle. The genie is out of the bottle. Now, that was my story in 18. But what started happening is I started connecting to other women executives and other women that were also very comfortable on a stage. We started uniting. And we started going out with what you just said. Use your voice, share your voice, be present, get on camera, get on video, start doing this. And in the last couple of years, you're correct. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You're starting to hear these women's voices. You're starting to realize, but I'm going to say something, Liz. The industry wasn't ready for us until that time. I couldn't have had the same reaction in 2010 as I did in 18, 19, 20.
Right.
And that was okay. It was okay for me to be behind the scenes and let all the men be on the stage and let them have it's all a man's world. I would go to mortgage conferences and I would show up as the leader of a company. And it was nothing but booth babes. You know that word.
Right.
Booth babes were the only women there.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't go to those conferences. I actually refused. I said, it is a waste of my time and energy to be there where you have to be scantily dressed to be a woman at those shows. And the men literally, it was terrible. It was bad. It has changed. It has changed. I now have organizations asking me to have women's focus groups. I was supposed to do the MBA one in New Jersey in April. That got postponed to next year. I mean, people want to hear our voice, and we're not putting the genie back in the bottle.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I just get chills every time we talk about it, because we're back to this whole representation matters, and we're going to dive into the whole, and I'm sorry if you can hear my kitty cat. She's really mad that she's not in the room. But we're going to talk about color in our industry and women of color as well. If we can't see ourselves in those positions, like you said, we can't imagine ourselves there. And I think that all of you women executives have really made a lot of women more brave every day. And the more we talk about being seen, I feel like this is even therapy for me. And Missy's going to agree. I haven't let Missy talk at all. I've been so excited talking to you, but it feels like therapy, right? Because we've all been there. I told my husband, I'm like, I am so scared to do this because I don't want to be seen. I'd rather and I've said it a million times, I like it if people know my name in my company, but I don't necessarily need them to know when I walk in a room. And that's really kind of weird when you think about it.
I understand why.
Yeah. Well,
Why?
I think many of us have been conditioned to not be the center of attention. I think many of us have been conditioned to be humble. I think many of us have been conditioned, like this is the way, right? Like I had a great Southern father, and we were to be seen and not heard, but I like to change it. I was to not be seen and not heard as a child, right? As a female child. And I think a lot of us women, not all of us, deal with issues about being seen. And I think it slows us down in our production. I think it slows us down and makes us less brave to be out there and doing what we really can do.
Yeah. Well, what you need to remember, what we all need to remember, there's only one of you ever in this whole life. One of all of us, right? Your gift to this world is you. So every day.
I wonder if you've ever heard that.
So if you find that,
I know. Just finish this up for me.
So please use your gift to the world. Open your mouth, spread your gift, show yourself, because you're the best you ever. There's
best interview ever. We can just leave it right here, and I can be totally happy for the rest of my life. Thanks, Laura.
I think we're calling Laura weekly. Laura, put us in your calendar.
I think you need to talk to me and then call Laura and be like, talk to me. And she'll say exactly the same thing I've been saying. And we'll just keep going with this fabulous conference.
Yeah, we had the intro video. My daughter shared it before I was ready for her to share it. I was literally in tears on the couch, and I called Missy, and she's like, girl, there's no process here. Relax. It's okay.
Can I tell her to take it down? I'm like, no.
No.
Yeah, but this is, Laura, you're talking about, so many women face this, and I think this is why we really want to do a conference for women producers in particular, because they face that silencing, right?
Yes.
And they don't see themselves reflected in these conferences in particular. So when you were in the very beginning of your career, what do you wish you would have been shared with you? Like, what do you wish you would have known?
So going back to the tribe, and it's interesting because I've spoken to other women about this, and it appears I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this thinking. When I was coming up through the ranks, I believed that I had to stay so focused and so on a mission of climbing forward that I had no time to build relationships with others. And I don't mean my family, I mean at work. So it was face down, head down, every minute working, every minute reaching the next goal. And obviously it worked. I got where I was trying to go, but I missed out on a lot of relationship that I wished I would have been able to build and grow. Let's put it this way. It was a very lonely path to get to where I wanted to go.
Right.
And if I was going to give advice to people now, is that you don't have to feel like you're alone. You don't have to feel that taking that time to build those relationships within your work environment is a waste of time. It's not. It's actually very valuable. And again, that's another lesson I've learned since 2018, because I've built more relationships now that people see me and now that people know me. Now I have all these great connections, and now it's like, oh my God, and and now it's a big family, and that makes me very happy and fulfilled. And I only wished I would have had that back earlier.
So building those relationships early in your career is really critical to being happy while you're kicking ass.
Yeah, so kicking ass I did that part. I needed the other piece.
It's interesting how quietly we can kick ass though. Right? I mean, that's an art. Okay, so I get this question a lot. It's always hard. Women are afraid if they're maybe not in a culture that they love, or they're not in a company that's a perfect fit. What's your advice to women who are looking to make a move to a good place to be productive?
Well, I think women have an advantage over some gentlemen where we definitely have more of a gut instinct. We definitely have more of an intuition or I don't know, a guide. I don't know what you want to call it. Everybody may call it their own certain thing. I know me, I just call it my gut instinct. And I have always trusted that. Just like the story I told you of how I got to AFR. I mean, other people would have said, no, it's not right. Oh my goodness, I'm going to take the safe bet. But in combination with my husband saying, okay, meaning supporting, I also felt it's right. Like this is the right move. I feel this is it. So I think a lot of times we second guess ourselves. We start over analyzing it in our brain, and we've got this self-talk over here with, no, well, this could happen and this can happen. It could. All those things could happen. But if you don't actually do it or take that chance, I guarantee you nothing's going to change. Yeah. And I think we have to trust that. I'm telling you, I live my life by it. When something doesn't feel right, I'm out. It's not right.
Right.
And when it's right, damn, it is right. It's spot on.
It's really great.
So use that, trust it, because we all have it. At times we convince ourselves using this. Do you know, you actually make more decision if you listen to your heart guide over this, that biologically, as humans, our brain is there to protect you. It is actually there from a primitive age. When we were cave people, this brain would tell us, warning sign, there's an animal coming, or don't eat that poisonous berry, or things like that. That's what the brain was made for, okay? But this, going with your heart and your instinct, this actually will guide you better than this. But this, over time, we've taken and given more clout to. You actually need to be able to pull the two together between your heart and your brain, pull it together and trust yourself. We know what's the right thing. We have that instinct.
I feel like that tendency to think from our brains is so much more of a masculine tendency.
It is.
And we think in business, I've got to present from my head, I've got to present from this space so that people will legitimately take us seriously. Yeah. And that if I don't come from that space, but really our gut and our heart and that space that's right here is really pulling at us all the time to act the way we do as women, right? Because we create community that way. That's how we create and expand out in the world. And when we get stuck up in here, it's the end of the game.
You're correct.
Right? Keep us stuck and limited.
And that's the difficulty in a corporate world. In a corporate world, because we're mainly working with male executives, one of the problem women have is we try to emulate the men.
You are what you see, right? You are what you see.
Yeah. So, but that's wrong. We actually, and that's why, listen, I'm the most blessed person from a business side because I had the opportunity to have someone say to me, Laura, you build it the way you think. And you know what I did? I have cute little above and beyond awards with little ladybugs on them that are sent out to my team members. Every Thursday for the last 13 years before we went into quarantine, I would stop and get Munchkin donut holes because my team knew every Thursday you get donut holes. Laura goes and get like little stupid little things that became traditions, became part of the family. I ran it like my family, and that's how I built the company from a woman perspective. That's the greatest gift I could ever have. And a lot of times we're trying to copy the way it's been done because the men ran it, and we don't trust that. I always say all the time, I have such an advantage being a woman because I can send cute little things to my clients, and I can put little happy faces, and I can say Happy Mother's Day to everybody. And people are like, oh, how sweet is that? It's Laura. A man can't do that.
Yeah.
They can't. They can't do it.
I think they could. I think they could change that if they wanted to.
I think it would come across different.
It would.
I think it would come across different. So I get both ways. I could be stern and I could be strong, but I can also be nurturing. I can also be relational. So women, we have the greater power if you really think about it. It's just letting us feel comfortable in our skin, right? We have to be comfortable in our skin and confident and brave enough to be able to act on the way we have from here and put the brain with the heart, put them together and act on that.
I'm loving this. I'm going to listen to this every day before work. I'm going to just play it while I'm taking a shower every morning. This is great. I love it.
What is your favorite negotiation secret?
Confidence. Confidence. Now, I'm going to go back in time, early on, back in the day. My logic was, I'm going to make myself so valuable to whoever I work with that they will never, ever want to lose me. And so I was never adverse to saying, I'll start whatever it is. But guess what, honey? When you see what I can produce and the power that I can create, then you're going to pay me what I asked for. And I go in so confident and with such black and white, you don't want to lose it, that I have never had a problem with negotiating. And negotiation isn't just money. Negotiation is negotiating for the life that you want. And I'm going to use an example of this. Okay? Back in 2016, I decided I wanted to open up a West Coast office. And I decided on Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. Never been to Scottsdale, Arizona. I just decided it was cheaper than California, whatever. So I went out there. I loved it. I said to my husband, oh my goodness, I fell in love with this place. It's gorgeous, right? I said, I have an idea, okay? My husband's like, oh, love your ideas, Laura. You always have lots of ideas. So I'm like, here's the plan. I'm in New Jersey. I hate the winter. Every year that goes by, I hate it more. I said, this is what we'll do. I will make it so we can actually work out of my office in Arizona, and we'll spend the winter for a couple of months, and then we'll come back. And my husband's like, hey, Laura, that's a great plan, but, I have a job, and I don't work for you, and, I don't know how my company is, going to let me just go to Arizona for 2 months. And I said, I have a plan. This is negotiating your life. So he's like, can't wait. What do we got? I said, you're going to go to your boss and you're going to tell him my wife's company, I'll work out of there, I'll work remote, everything will be fine, no problem. I said, and your boss is going to say no. I said, but then you're going to go above him and you're going to tell him the plan. And he might say, I'll think about it. Maybe he won't. I don't know. I said, but then you're going to go above him. I said, but when you go above him, you're going to go with a business plan that I'm going to write. And I'm going to show them why they should let you do it, because you're going to be able to service West Coast clients and you're going to work West Coast hours. So you're going to be able to expand the service time for the technical support for your company.
That is genius.
So you know, this was our 4th year of spending the winter in Arizona.
Lovely.
Because got it done. My point is, negotiating isn't just about money. Negotiating is negotiating the life that you actually want. And don't ever think you can't do whatever it is, whether it's 88 acres, whether it's the mortgage conference for women, whatever you want, only you can stop it.
Thank you. Thank you 1,000 times. Thank you so much. It's just, now I'm going, woo!
I know. This whole interview.
Seriously, Laura, this is exactly, I mean, I especially love, because, you know, women producers and the women that we've been interacting with in particular, they don't see negotiation as, they see it all about the, you know, we tell women, you have to negotiate for your salary and you have to be willing to negotiate for your salary. You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been running my business for 3 years. When I first started out, my rates were so low, it was pathetic,
Sure.
right? And I tripled them, and guess what? I got better clients and more money. So
Sure.
go figure. But
Sure.
like, you know, we're constantly hearing negotiation is about the money, but I love what you said about it's about our life. It's
That's
about
right.
the life we are envisioning, and that's the negotiation.
That's the negotiation. Forget the money part, because the money will come.
The
I'm
money
not
comes.
saying the money will come.
Yes.
But if you focus it on only being the money,
Yes.
you're going to lose. That's
Yep.
not the ultimate goal. The
Damn
ultimate
right.
goal is the life that you want. Look at that. Don't look at just the money. That's only one piece. You know how I got into the mortgage business? Okay, now I'm going all the way back. How did I get into the mortgage business? Me and my husband, high school sweethearts, got married at 19. I had my first child at 20, okay? Here we are, no money, young kids. What the heck are we doing? My husband working during the day. I'm like, well, we can't pay for daycare. I'll work at night. Well, what do you do at night? Well, you work like retail or you're on the phone, right? I like to have conversations. I take a phone job selling mortgages. That is how I got into the mortgage business. $7 an hour, telemarketing people on the phone. I negotiated my life. I knew that wasn't where I was going to stay, but within 6 months, I was a manager of that telemarketing firm. Within 5 years, I was the entire director of the marketing company. And then when it was time that my kids were in school, I went and worked at a mortgage company, and by 27, I was the chief operations officer because I negotiated the life I wanted.
Get it, girl. That's right.
Love it.
I need a microphone so I can just drop it.
Telling you, I'm playing this every day.
So good. So good. Laura, is there anything that we haven't covered? That, like, one last nugget, that Oprah aha moment, whatever. Like, is there something you really wish people who've watched this interview would know?
Well, the negotiating your life, I think, is vital. I think that's so important. And I'm glad you asked me that question, because I think we get caught up that we just look at things in little segments and not the big picture, right? I think we have to look at the entire picture. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I know the day I'm retiring, I know what I'm doing in my retirement. I mean, I literally have it planned out I know exact, and you know what? Not even one question in my mind that isn't going to happen. I know that's going to happen. Like, don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to put out whatever that life looks like. And another thing, you know, we talked about, I mentioned Happy Mother's Day. You know, a lot of times I've been at conferences, a lot of conferences, and the question I get, how do you balance work life? And can you have it all? Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, there's no such thing that is the worst question ever.
Question. Hate that question.
Oh, yes, it's the worst.
Quit asking it, everybody. Quit asking that question.
Don't
Everybody who watches this interview, stop asking that damn question.
Please don't ever ask that question again. I can't stand that. But I will tell you, at the last conference before the quarantine, it came up where I had young women, right, the early 30s with kids, literally talking about how guilty they feel about being producers and having mortgage companies and not spending time with their children and all this stuff. And so if there's something I could leave on that note, okay, and I literally stood up in the middle of the room to say this because I couldn't take it anymore. From someone that now has grown children, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to fast forward to all of you ladies out there that have young kids right now that are questioning, oh, you know, maybe I missed the soccer game, or maybe I was on my phone with a client and you know, all that. I'm going to tell you that I'm very close with my children. And I love those car rides or vacations when we just sit around and have conversations. And I'll fast forward it to you that I've literally said to them, do you ever feel like you missed something with me working like a lunatic, building a company and everything that I did? And they said, Mom, miss something? They're like, you're our hero. Yep. We look up to you. For you to have paved the way and provided a life for us to teach us the lessons to be the men we are today, we couldn't be prouder. So your children are watching you every day, and they may not say it, and you may not realize, but what you're teaching them as strong women and as leaders and producers and business owners and everything else, you're shaping the future into a wonderful thing. So cut yourself a break and realize how wonderful you are.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I felt the same thing when I was married at 19 to my high school sweetheart. And my daughter at 23, she turns 24 this month.
Ah, you got one. Yeah, I have a similar age.
Right? She's grown up and she's a high functioning human being. As far as I can tell, I haven't sent her to therapy yet. So I say to the same thing. I spent time feeling guilty at home because I was with the kids and I wasn't working, and then feeling guilty when I wasn't with the kids. There wasn't a moment I didn't feel guilt. It was almost like when the kids came out, I had guilt.
Yep. We all do. We all do. Yes. Yeah. That is very natural.
Love it.
Laura, thank you so much for everything. I just,
I'm breathless.
Appreciate your time and your energy and the love you put out into the world. And
yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. All the best, ladies.
Thank you so much.